Guys, how's it going? Ezekiel the Barber back with another barbering video for you guys, breaking it down in the cut, how I basically cut it. So this is what we're starting with. Today my guy wants to take it down to a number 2. So we're gonna start with that number 2 guard, guys. So basically on this haircut, I was looking to try to do pretty much the whole haircut with no lever, no clipper that really brings a lever, so just pure metals. Now, it can definitely be done, even though I did it, because we're going to start with that number 2. We're going to set our first guidelines. Just going to go up a little bit. Now, with long hair, you always have to be careful, keeping that ear out of harm's way. Always want to be really cautious around that ear area. But other than that, all other areas are generally pretty easy to work with. You see me just going around and going back over that ear later. I can just get a lot more work done faster and then just go back and clean over the ear, because it requires a lot more care and attention in that area. So I just want to bypass that for now and get most of the bulk. It's all a part of my process to save time. Right, so here is the technique that I like to use in this area. And this is basically for those clients who have long hair, who's just looking to take it down real short. Now, as you see me using every different angle, and that's to try to make the haircut get as even as possible. So it's one of those barber secrets to a clean cut. There's different ways that people go about getting the bulk off on your haircut. This is just the way that I chose to go about it. The clipper that I'm using is the Oster Octane, and I'm just using the metal clips that come with this clipper. So he just wants to go from a 2 to a 3. So basically that's what we're looking to do here. Even though I was able to get the majority of the haircut done with this Oster Octane, there's different techniques, because when you're using metal clips like this, such as this, you don't have a guard. So if you're looking to fade and you still have to fade, transition from the 2 into the 3, there's different techniques that you could use that insinuate that type of look. So basically with this number 2 guard, I like to put it really flat against the head and then go straight up. Try to get the most clean cut as possible. Now before I go to my next guideline, whenever they have a lot of bulk in their hair such as this, we're only really going from a number 2 to a number 3 guard. So I like to get a little bit more of that bulk off just by using the clipper over comb technique. As you see me here, still using the clipper over comb technique with the number 2 guard. Even right there, the hair didn't really cut. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Later on, you're gonna see me go to that number 1 guard, which most barbers usually go with the number 1. It's a closer cut, basically. Gets more hair off, more accurate, I guess. All right, so we're just cleaning behind the ear with that same number 2 guard. Making sure that ear is really away from that blade. Cutting in pretty much every direction. Really want to be cautious around that ear. Right, and then so right here, as you see me going over it a few times, make sure everything is as even as possible. So I cut in every direction when I set my guidelines, just not taking that guideline too high. So I'm really cautious of that. I set the guideline with a little drop, as you see there. So when I go to my number 3 metal, that basically will be my next guideline. So wherever you see that bulk, that's where I'll be using that 3 guard. Sort of like a drop in the fade. Alright, so once again, just cutting from every direction. detail there. Looks pretty good there. So let's go ahead and go to the next phase. Now once again, instead of using that number 2 to kind of get some of that bulk out, I definitely would suggest using a smaller metal such as that number 1. There it is there. And this is a number 1 ceramic, so you see that plastic there. They do have number 1 metal. I like the ceramic because it doesn't get as hot as fast. It still cuts just as good. So. Though I do have both. Alright, so getting that bulk out pretty easy. Kind of exposes around that ear area to where I can go back with that 2 and clean things up a little better. And as you see, I just use the comb as a protector as well. That's another technique that I use to kind of block the ear out of harm's way, is just by using that comb, making sure it covers the ear. That way the clipper can't cut under that comb. Such as that. And that ear's protected the whole time. Another technique. You don't want to do this, what I'm doing, unless you have years of experience. Much safer approach to just go back with that number 2 guard. Alright, so I'm just going to use that 1. Most of that bulk out of there. Let's see if I can get a better angle for you right there. There it is. Alright, so you can see that number 1 is just getting that hair out of there pretty much no problem. Once again, we're going down to a number 3 anyway, so I'm not taking it so tight that it's gonna mess up the haircut, aside from what that number 3 is gonna do. So just wanted to get a lot of bulk out of there. This is another way of kind of creating a faded look. It's just with the clipper over comb. So this is another way to fade or transition hair. So now I think we have enough hair off to go ahead and finally use that metal 3.5 guard. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, for some reason I like this 3.5 guard, even though you have the 3 plastic on the wall or the Andes clipper. For some reason, it seems like this 3.5 metal still gets a little tighter, and I just like it. It's a cleaner cut. So that's why I'm going with that. Now, as you see me using kind of a fading technique, a scoop technique, I'll go flush, and then as I get to the top, I'll kind of use a scooping technique. That's how I'm kind of creating that fade. See if I can, there's the technique a little bit better for you. So it's not really flush against the head. It's kind of at an angle. So angles are really huge when trying to transition with the metal clips. Once again, you don't have a lever. I'll stay flush, and as I come up, I'll angle the clipper to where it won't cut as much hair. Now, as you can see, we've got a good portion of this haircut done. Haven't really used a clipper with a lever, though this fade is actually coming together from what where he started. So this is kind of the progress here. Just kind of want to keep everything even as possible. So whatever I do on the left, I like to do on the right. In the back, if I have a drop, I'll stay with that. In this case, I just decided to bring that drop up just a little bit more. So you kind of have complete control. It's basically sculpting hair. Alright, so time to get a little bit of hair out of there. Use my blow dryer, definitely a barber's best friend in a barbershop. Alright, so we have a little bit more work to do. There is some hair around this ear that I initially used at number 2, so I want to go back to that, clean around that ear a little bit. So here it is there. I know you can't see it. Definitely a work in progress with this whole YouTube thing, so bear with me. Hopefully we get it panned out with the whole lighting and everything by the next video, so here on out. So. Alright, so just pulling that ear out of the way, being careful. So this requires a lot of concentration, so that's why I kind of saved it for last, but it always has to be done, so you might as well get it done. Here I'm just going against the grain. That hair does grow from a different angle, so you always want to keep things even, so whatever direction that hair is coming out of that cuticle, you just want to cut it in basically the opposite direction. So it's kind of critical that you look at where each hair comes out of, how it grows. That's very important for getting a really even cut. So just looking to make everything nice and even. Sometimes you have to go over it a few times. You see me working from different angles, not going too high with that 2 guard, because then I'll mess up my guideline, mess up the fade, so I don't want to go too high unless I intend to. Just sculpt away at this haircut. I definitely love this Oster clipper. Now they are not paying me to advertise in any way, but I definitely love the clipper that much. So it's a great clipper, gets a lot of work done in the barbershop. The battery life is really good in my opinion. I've had the clipper so far for about 3 to 4 years and I have no complaints, needless to say. Now I can't say that about other clippers. Some clippers used to get real oily and greasy and you have to change fuses and all kinds of stuff. This clipper is pretty much just plug and play, so good job, Oscar. So now time to start working on the top. Just want to grab my spray bottle, spray a little bit of water on that top. Keeps all the hair together when you cut it, so that's what I like about using water. So now we'll just find out kind of where he wants to be as far as his length on top. So that's when I hand the mirror. And then I'll try to find my first guideline. So kind of wherever they like to be on top. Sometimes they just ask for my opinion as well. Together we normally come together on a good length. It's pretty long now. Looks like he wants to start with that amount off. Oh, that's the first guideline. I like to create another guideline just to kind of make it quite evident. There it is there. Doesn't hurt to do one more. Alright, cool. Now this is kind of what we started with before. And this is kind of currently where we're at in the cut with Ezekiel the Barber. So we are in the cut. So we're doing a 2 fade going into a 3 with a scissor trim, a shear trim on top. We found this guideline. We're just gonna follow that all the way around. So basically just following that guideline all the way around, just attempting to make sure that all areas of the head are even. I'll eventually go back and double check everything and then double check the length just to kind of make sure that everything's that much more accurate. Sometimes I'll use different techniques to do this. Here I'm just basically going back over all my steps. The little areas that seem uneven, I'm just trying to go back and get them. So basically just making my way around again, double checking all my work. Sometimes I'll triple check it. More than likely that's what I'll probably do. Alright, so now I went to the #1 ceramic guard. Just want to clipper over comb some of the sides going into the top a little bit, some of that hair that sticks out of there. Get a chance to see about how much hair sticks out of that comb, so chance and feel out how to gauge and kind of chisel out that haircut, make things smooth. I like to cut at an angle such as this. Things are finally coming together. Just trying to have my way with this hair here. As a barber or hairstylist, you really get a chance to kind of do your own art with hair. So everyone cuts different or has different techniques. Things that just make more sense to them based off of their tools or what have you. Now, even though I got a majority of this haircut done, once again without a lever or a clipper with the lever, just pretty much using these metal guards, a clipper, and these austers, basically doing work. I still eventually had to go to a lever. As a barber, I still see things that just weren't as clean as I liked it. The transition to me could have been a little bit better. So in turn, I decided to go to the number 4 guard with the Andes Masters cordless clippers. So you'll see that here coming up in a few sections here. But it definitely saved me a lot more time on this haircut. So I didn't want to have this young man here all day with me chiseling at this haircut. So that is one of the luxuries of having a clipper with the lever, is it saves you time and what happens. Even though I did get a good majority of this haircut done without it. So sometimes it's just the way it is. Okay, so here I just used the 5/0, which is the 5-0 metal, just attempting to see where he wants to be for a sideburn. So wherever he tells me to stop, it'll stop. So boom, we'll find that. We'll just take those hairs down. So you'll see I'll just gauge up at first. Once he tells me to stop, and I'll just, everything under that I'll just get rid of. Now, the 5-0 is really good for edge up work. So I like to go to this metal for edge up work. So that's the 5-0 metal. There is a 6-0, but it's more for really tight balding. I find that this kind of is more suitable for all different hair types, and it definitely gives a pretty clean cut as well. So that's why I went to the 5-0. You can still do a little lineup work there, as you can see. Just cleaning up around those ears, using the edges of that 5-0. And just cleaning up the back neck area, as you can see the type of work that it does back here. So this is what we started with. Alright, so my man had to get cleaned up. So we got him in the cut. Alright, so this is in the cut, guys. We're just about to the end. This is what I really do like about the metal guards is, I mean, you're able to get the majority of the lineup work or the haircut done in a timely fashion. I mean, these things just, they do work. So I definitely appreciate the metal guards. Definitely a barber's best friend. Side. As you can see, this guard definitely does work. Edge up work definitely adds a better dimension, better look to the haircut. Adds that cleanliness to the haircut. So to me, it makes a difference. Now, sometimes I like to do just the edge up work around the back and leave the front natural. Sometimes people like to line up the front, but I almost certainly on all my haircuts, if there is hair there, I like to line up the sides and the back. Alright, so once again, just chiseling at the haircut, just trying to make sure everything is smooth. how sometimes when you cut hair, there can be a lot of uneven spots when you get close to being finished. So basically, the number one objective is to kind of make sure all the guidelines are even. So sometimes I like to go back over my work. So meaning wherever I use that 2 guard, I'll go back and make sure those areas are clean. Wherever I use that 3 guard, so on and so forth. So just basically quickly go over all my steps. Any areas that I see that may be uneven to my eyes, then I'll just, that'll be my number one objective to go for. So any uneven spots, kind of go for that with the same guard that I used in that general area. Basically trying to get the haircut as clean as possible, making sure that everything transitions nice and clean. This is right about the time where I figured that to save time, I need to go to this number 4 guard in this Andy's Masters cordless clipper. So, haircut looks pretty good so far, but to me, there's still a little bit more work to do. So here's that number 4 guard. It's allowing me to smooth out those sides going into the top. As you can see, much smoother transition there in that shot. So I'm pretty satisfied with this look. Once again, I did go to a number 4 guard with the Andy's Masters that has the lever, though I didn't use it that long, but it made a world of difference in my opinion. So it looks like he wanted to go squared in the back. So we just squared the back off there. Some people do taper, some round it off. In this case, he just wanted to square off the sideburn, so we're just gonna go ahead and square off the back as well. Make everything nice and uniform. Just cleaning up around the ears, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking my work. Sometimes it's like that. Alright, so it looks pretty clean here. We're going to go ahead and put a little product in there. So we have that red one there, guys. So this red one product is a hair fiber pomade. So that's what I like about it. It's kind of just going to give it that natural look. Then I used a comb that's real spacey so it can kind of give that textured wavy look. Right, and then just using that 5-0 just to kind of clean up right in front there. Alright, so once again the haircut is pretty much all clean there, so just clean it up around the forehead area. Sometimes there are microscopic hairs that are there. Alright, so that's that 2 going into the 3. Cleaning up around the ear area if there's any hairs that might be there. Sometimes there's fuzzies that you can't see as well. So I always like to just kind of clean on everything just to kind of make sure everything is nice and cleaned up there. Though everything already looks pretty clean, pretty good to go here. These are just the final touches of the haircut. So we're quite a ways from where we started. Here he is here with the new look. See how he likes it. Make sure everything's good for him there. Now just adding a little bit of an astringent. I like to call it the hot sauce. Kind of kills any germs or bacteria. Right, so looks like this young man is ready to go with this new look. Big shout out to this young man for allowing me to demonstrate this haircut. This is the before the cut. quite a ways from where we are now. So this is after the cut, in the cut with Ezekiel the Barber, and my guy here. So like, share, subscribe. Until next time, take care, guys.